Madam Hilde Schwab, Sham and Hari Bharatiya ji, my friends Ajay Khanna and Shireen Bhan, so many dignitaries and representatives of the media fraternity, friends and colleagues. I think it would be an understatement if I were to say that I'm very happy to be here on the 15th anniversary of these awards. I think one of you just whispered that I was here 5 years ago as well. So it is out of respect for the work that is done in the area of social entrepreneurship that I'm here again today. And I think I speak on behalf of all of you that the three winners that we saw, the three presentations we saw, they were all impactful to say the least. I mean, the issue of gender empowerment, equipping our young girls to carve out careers and to do it in the kind of numbers that I saw is truly impressive. Also, I think it's not just the award which is won in this particular case after due deliberations by the jury, but the statement it makes that the area of empowerment, in this case equipping young ladies, young girls to become productive members of society and into the profession, I think that process itself constitutes a very powerful statement. Equally, I think that if you are looking at assistive technologies, and I kept asking one of the winners, I said, apart from, using sensors on walking sticks and special glasses, and his answer was truly humbling as far as I'm concerned. He said, we have 700 solutions. So you look at the scale of the work which is being done. You have technology, but you need to adopt that technology to provide assistance to those who are in need of it. And in the process, you not only enrich society, but you ensure that civil society performs a function which only civil society can, which only NGOs and social entrepreneurs. Governments will do their work, and I'll come to that in a minute, and I think we have a pretty good record there too. But it is that complementary or supplementary support which is provided in these areas which is truly remarkable. Then taking STEM education to, those of our children who, by virtue of the fact that they attended a stream of schooling which was less fortunate, let me put it this way, but as the presentation showed, the true talent is actually in the rural areas. I mean, there's talent in the semi-rural urban areas as well, but to equip them, I think that provides for even more satisfaction. And then maybe I'm growing old, and therefore I tend to sneak this in somewhere. I was very happy that the oil and gas companies are also assisting in this effort. And when I asked one of them, I won't share, what could be a commercial this thing, but said, no, they're getting full support. And I want to take the opportunity that if there is some support which you think should be forthcoming and is not, I'd be very happy to put in my word to and my margin of persuasion to ensure that you get more assistance from corporate social responsibility, not only for the efforts here, but for social entrepreneurship overall. And I think that is what makes for a very positive process in terms of how you take forward. And I also want to, I see a former member of my fraternity sitting here. These companies made an after-tax profit of 1,59,000 crores, I think profit after tax. So I think if they utilize 2% of that for CSR, I think that this is a very worthy area of support. But I also want to, maybe this is again another aspect, and then I'll go back to the subject. I've been an admirer of Professor Schwab's work for much longer than most of you have known him. I had the privilege of being posted to the Permanent Mission of India in Geneva almost, God knows how many, in 1981. That's a long time ago. And those days, Professor Schwab had many admirers, but it was not called the World Economic Forum, but if I remember correctly, it was called the European Management Forum. And I had the privilege of knowing Professor Schwab, and I think some of us suggested to him long back that if you have to woo the successful commercial corporate entities of the world, why do you want to confine yourself to, you know, the European capitalist world? Why don't you make it a global? And I've seen the rise of the forum, and I'm so happy that you are here in India, and your work continues to be admired in so many ways, and I'm sure that has been expressed to you not only at the dinner last night by my colleagues in the cabinet, but also by whomever you meet here. Now, social enterprises and collectives have, I think, been a part of the fabric of Indian life for a very long time. Social enterprises typically cater to sectors that matter to low-income communities, most notably agriculture, financial inclusion, water and sanitation, health and education, and clean energy. And many of our programs, I mean, if you just cite one that I'm personally familiar with, which is to provide clean cooking gas to our households, is a case in point. The Honorable Prime Minister in the year 2016, if I remember correctly, introduced the Ujjwala scheme, which is to provide a free cooktop and 1 or 2 cylinders to each household that would qualify under an established criteria, and there are, I think, 14 or so according to which you could. Basically, people who live below the poverty line or who are economically weaker section, so described. And having started in 2016, the scheme today has been extended to 10 crore 33 lakh people. And we have almost everyone covered, and the Honorable Prime Minister's line all along has been that if there is someone who's been left aside, we'd be happy to consider that, provided that this is done on the basis of verification, etc. And I can tell you, when the scheme started, there were some cynics. In our political system, we produce them in greater quantity than in most other systems. And people said, well, you know, there were cylinders given out. No, I used to tell my friends, I said, when you guys are in power, there were no gas cylinders. The total number of cylinders in 2014 was 14 crores. Today we've taken that figure up to 33 crores and climbing. And Ujjwala has largely gone to rural communities and the poorer sections of the rural communities. And today, we did a calculation the other day, the cost of clean cooking gas as against the coal and kerosene and wet wood that were used earlier. Today, the cost of cooking for one family for 1 day comes to just 5 rupees. And these are the Ujjwala beneficiaries. But if you look at the non-Ujjwala beneficiaries also, it comes to only 12 rupees. Where in the world do you provide cooking gas? First of all, they don't have LPG cylinder, most parts of the world. There's an enterprising businessman from Gujarat, I think from Ahmedabad, who hit on the idea that since African countries don't have LPG, and LPG comes from a refinery. I mean, it comes from, crude oil, and if you refine it, unlike natural gas, which is extracted. So he decided to sell 1 million cooktops to Kenya, and he decided to import 93 octane ethanol from Brazil. So it's a brilliant solution. I mean, they solved their green cooking problems, and here you had clean energy solved with a major boost. So I'm just providing that as an example. There have been some social development enterprises which have done very well. Some examples are Amul in Anand, Gujarat, Kudambashri network in Kerala received a lot of prominence. It cannot be overstated enough that social enterprises have played a crucial role in the upward mobility of millions of Indians over the years. There are 2 million social enterprises, and this figure is growing quickly. The estimated market opportunity and potential for social enterprises in India is estimated to be around US $8 billion or Euros 7 billion by next year. According to the Impact Investors Council, around 600 impact enterprises alone affect 500 million lives in India. And I think what you saw today on what was being not acknowledged but celebrated is a very small microcosm of what is actually happening in society, especially amongst these underprivileged, I choose my words carefully, communities, but which are showing massive upward mobility if you look at the impact of this scheme. There is also increased investor interest in India's social enterprises. The average deal size for social impact investments grew from US $7.6 million to about 17.6 million between 2010 and 16. So there is acknowledgement in the corporate world on the scalability. So impact is one thing. You can always come up with priorities. You want to move away from fossil fuels. You want to provide wash, health and sanitation, etc. But then people are coming forward, and it's also an economic opportunity. So when I see highly successful international entities like the Schwab Foundation, and I want to congratulate Shyam and Hariji, you are also putting in a very strong dose. You announced, by the way, the establishment of a center today. So I think that deserves a round of applause, because that is further momentum to be provided. The Social Stock Exchange is a pioneering initiative of the Modi government, and it aims at providing social enterprises with enhanced visibility and access to capital. The SSC offers a platform for these enterprises to attract investment, measure their social impact, and demonstrate their effectiveness in addressing societal issues. Over 20 social enterprises have already been listed on that exchange. I want to take a moment to talk about social enterprises and solutions that cater to persons with disabilities. I was pleased to note that one of the shortlisted solutions for today's award focuses on increased inclusion for persons with disabilities through assistive technologies. And as I mentioned in my interaction with a gentleman who is being celebrated today, when I asked him, apart from this, how many other kind of solutions you had, and he gave me the answer of saying 700. So, I mean, that is the range and scale of work that is being done, and I think we collectively owe a great sense of gratitude to people to work to help those persons with disabilities. We in India expanded the list of recognized disabilities from 7 to 21 after the landmark Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, which was promulgated by the Modi government in 2016. The new census will give a truer picture of the number of persons living with disabilities in the country. It is estimated that nearly 70% of those who need assistive technology do not have access to it in India, which means the scope for work in using assistive technologies for people who have disabilities and to help them lead productive lives in spite of those disabilities is a massive scale and a scope, and I am glad that this is being addressed in a focused manner. The lack of accessibility increases their vulnerabilities and curtails their access to transport services, sanitation, health, education, and other public services. I can tell you with a degree of pride that during the 7 years that I was Housing and Urban Affairs Minister, we enacted this into law that if you have to construct a building, that it has to be user-friendly for people with disabilities. So instead of stairs, you have ramps, you have all kinds of other facilities, and that is also a reflection of the increased awareness of the need to do so. The Modi government has continually demonstrated its efforts to promote disability inclusion. Some notable examples include the Sugamaya Bharat campaign, also known as the Accessible India campaign, which was launched in 2015, and the implementation of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act and rules in 2017. Over 43 lakh UDID cards or unique disability ID cards have been issued to persons with disabilities. Nearly 150,000 persons have benefited from skill development initiatives. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, which I was associated with for 7 years, created the harmonized guidelines for universal design of space standards for India in 2019. These guidelines move away from the narrow interpretation of barrier-free environments to a broader concept of universally designed spaces. I want to conclude by saying that the partnership between corporate entities, foundations, and social enterprises is essential for advancing our shared goals. I congratulate the collaboration between the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship and the Jubilant Bharatiya Foundation, which exemplifies how combining resources, expertise, and passion can lead to important solutions for societal change. To all the finalists and participants, all I can say is that your work is truly inspiring. I am confident that your efforts will continue to make a profound impact as it is already. And I urge the youth to draw inspiration from the social entrepreneurs here and choose paths that will shape both the future and the future of our countries. Many, many thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Puri. I don't